When last we left our intrepid adventurers, after a month-long hiatus, actually it's closer to 2 months. Our existence had been nullified, and our plan was to unnullify it by doing all the dumb stuff we complained about, but is now an indelible part of our history. This is just a lesson to everyone. Never have bad experiences because you may have to recreate them someday.
Though
so
in this case, it's not really under your control because someone else caused the bad experience.
Yeah.
So it's sort
if Kalinars don't exist, they will be necessary to invent them.
It sounds like one of those like Facebook inspirational things. Don't let anyone mistreat you because you might have to go back in time and impersonate them, and that'll be really awkward.
Yeah. You should make a poster like that.
Or no, they always say? Get rid of the negative people in your life.
Right, yeah.
Because you might have to impersonate them if you ever have to go back in time.
I don't know. A series of inspirational posters based on our experiences from our campaign might not be the best idea.
I think it'd be great.
Always be true to yourself, even if you are designed as a slave creature.
Listen to all parts of your personality, even if you're two different people in one body.
So anyway, first step in stabilizing our existence is we have to steal Panadar. Now, I recall the time pressure to steal Panadar. That was because we needed Kalinar to get us in? I'm sort of slipping my mind on this.
The time pressure to steal Kalinar is because you have to steal it before reality reasserts itself and causes you to breaks your personal timeline.
Yeah.
For which you have 30 days.
Right.
And because when you time travel, you don't have any. You can't get any closer than like a couple weeks or a month.
Right.
You don't have 30 days to.
So yeah, if we don't steal Panadar now, there's no Jenga tower involved because Panadar was stolen. Something along those lines. Or at least it's an easier Jenga tower. I'm surprised we haven't had to pull any Jenga blocks so far, but at some point there'll be Jenga blocks.
Some of that might just be me forgetting about it. But no, it is true that right now history records that it was stolen. So
if we steal it, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, some Jenga should have been pulled already for like things that went differently, but whatever, I can deal with that next time.
I mean, the guys that Kalinar originally hired and then betrayed are not going to get hired and betrayed. That's going to be Jenga. Oh no, that's Jenga full. That's already
naturally happening.
Yes, that's already happened. So yeah, doing it now, that's where the time pressure comes in. It's a lot easier in the current state of affairs because we're sort of in this weird hybrid state where things have happened that we want to have happen. We just need to make sure they happen. Right. Anyway, so we're going to steal Panadar. And we have the bunch of documentation that Kalinar had come up with for the original heist, the plans and stuff, which will be very useful for the
Right, you stole them from his office.
Yes, and then they ceased to exist. So did we really steal them? No, we didn't.
Well, we copied them before they ceased to exist.
Yeah. So I made a copy of something that doesn't exist anymore. So who holds the copyright, I'd like to know. So, we did that. We have the map. What was the other prep stuff we had to do?
Well, we chatted with Kalinar about the basic principle of the thing. So, the way it works, or how it is there's in Valneva, there's an inner walled city called Spellhold, and it's only Spellblades are allowed to go there generally, or like people escorted by Spellblades for various purposes. And then in the center of that, or not, near the center of that is the Spellblade Containment Facility, the SPC facility, and it has an administrative office, and it also has the vaults underneath. And so their security strategy is primarily, because they have to like bring people in for various purposes, they have to hire people for whatever, their primary strategy is not, like they do try to keep people out to some degree, but it's not super tight security getting in, but the tight security is getting out. It's not too hard to get in, but it is virtually impossible to get out. And that's why Kalinar's plan was like probably the only attempt at stealing that had ever worked before, because he was a Spellblade. He had been a member for years. He was well trusted, and he did the thing where he said, "I'm going to infiltrate these guys and betray them." That's what he told his high-ups. And then, of course, he was actually stealing it. He swapped it for a fake one, betrayed them, walked out with the real one. They put the fake one back in the vaults, and then he had an escape plan for his guys he hired so they didn't get screwed over. Boom. But they don't have a guy who is an insider.
Because Kalinar no longer exists.
So that's the tricky part. The way they got in, the original heisters, was they hired themselves on. They're always hiring people for various jobs in the facility, and they'll bring you in, and so that's how they got in. They all just hired on as those guys, and it's relatively safe because one of the things they do is they administer this ritual when you come in. That from the moment of the ritual onward, at some future point, they can erase all your memories from that point to the point they erase them. So you come in, you do jobs for them, and when you leave, they erase your memory. And that's just how it goes, right?
You don't remember what happened in there,
and so,
or the layout or anything.
And that will still work for the party because it doesn't really matter if their memory's erased. If they come up, if they just wake up and they're in and they have Panadar in their hand, I guess they succeeded.
Mission accomplished.
So someone did mention that they should just be like that. We should just skip the adventure then, just like, oh look, we did it. Let's move on.
You could bring a magical item that records everything you experience.
Because of the kind of stuff they want you to do when they hire you, they let you keep your stuff, but they do check every single item and catalog it, so they look for stuff like that.
So we couldn't. This is actually interesting. We can't bring Panadar in with us because they'll notice, like, why have you got another Panadar? It's like, oh, that one's ours. So. But the thing is, we have to stay within a Southgate length.
That was the thing I used for it.
Yeah.
It's about as long as Southgate Mall. They've attuned themselves to it good enough that they can be a Southgate Mall away from it.
So yeah, we have to stay within a Southgate of the Panadar. But the problem is, other problems. Kalinar has to stay closer because he hasn't been attuned as well. A Southgate length will cover the facility, but not much more than that.
Right.
And Kalinar won't be covered by that whole coverage. So what we ultimately decided.
Oh, and they don't want Kalinar to go with them, ideally, because anything he does will cease to exist. So if he becomes critical during the mission, if he does anything important, then that becomes a problem.
Yeah, you can come along, but stay in the back. Don't touch anything. Don't make any suggestions.
It's kind of like whatever happens when an NPC comes along with you anyway. But
and now it's formalized. So what we decided to do, Kalinar would wait outside, because if he stays right outside the facility, like against the wall, he keeps Panadar with him. He keeps it within a Southgate length of us. He keeps it closer to himself.
Right.
And he's not involved in the actual heist. This is ideal. And the DM doesn't have to roleplay him. And we don't have to look at his stupid face. So it works out for everyone. And he doesn't have to put up with us. So that's that part of the plan. In order to get hired on, we had to do some streetwising. And we found a guy that knows a guy to get us hired in. Basically, they have random guard duties, but they also do a lot of experimentation, because ultimately the goal is to destroy these bones of the earth. But some of them are very hard to destroy, and some of them have useful properties that might help destroy the other bones of the earth, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. So they'll hire people on, and they'll pay you 100 gold to do it, which is quite a bit. Or they often will take prisoners, and they'll take a year off their sentence for doing work.
Experimental.
Yeah.
So they got in contact with an elf called Yuhakovin, and he got them in.
Elven name.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why it even came up. Oh, someone said his name had to be Kevin, and then we got talking about a kid we knew as kids called Kevin Yuha, and someone suggested that Shannon had a crush on Kevin Yuha when she was a kid, and then Tim got jealous of Kevin Yuha, so the elf that they found became Yuhakovin. He was irrelevant, so it didn't really matter. Yeah. Like, he just was the guy who was willing to take a bribe to get them on the front of the list.
Right.
So we get in on the list thing.
And it's in 4 days or something.
Now, the vault itself is kind of an interesting situation. Back when the Spellblades were first getting all this stuff set up, they had a facility here. And they had, in the basement of the facility, they had archives. It was like a library level facility. And they had just started collecting some bones of the earth. And they got this one particular bone of the earth. Did they have a number for it? I can't remember.
I don't think I said
Doesn't matter. And one of the guys, the Spellblades, had taken it out of storage to go and do some research down in the archives or something. He brought it with him, and as he was going down the stairs, dropped it, and it started bouncing down the stairs. And it bounced down to the archive level, which was the bottom level, and then it kept bouncing, and then it bounced down to the archive level, then down to the archive level, then down to, and it kept on bouncing down the stairs, and every time it kept replicating the archive level.
Oh.
And as far as the Spellblades are aware, it is still bouncing down the stairs to this day, continuing to replicate archive levels. They've never gone below, 417 levels down? Because that Bone of the Earth, and...
Why didn't anyone catch it?
It just kept going. It's going faster than they can catch now.
Yeah. How are you going to catch up with it? It's been going down for centuries.
But why, like, the initial guy...
He tried. This is all kind of shrouded in rumor, but, he fumbled it, tried to grab it, and it just kept going.
Got away from him.
Yeah, so it essentially created an infinite
archive.
Infinite staircase of replicated rooms going down. And it's like in a weird place. You can't tunnel out of it. You can't tunnel to it. And they thought, this is a perfect place to store all the bones of the earth.
Right.
And so that became...
Now, does it replicate the current... Like, is it the same archive, or it's just an archive room?
It replicated the archive as it bounced down. Okay. So I assume on most of the levels they cleared out all the duplicated books and whatever.
I imagine it just... I guess they didn't really go into it. I think it just replicated the rooms.
Oh.
The structure. So...
Not the contents.
But I guess even if you did the contents, they probably cleaned those out long ago, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Except for levels past 475.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of this is just rumor that Colin had heard, but there's they've tried to explore, but the rumor is they've never gone past 417. They've sent four groups to explore past 417, and none of them ever came back. So the rumor goes.
Is there a replication error?
I don't know. Could be something weird going on.
Anyway, so the Panadar is one of these levels, right?
It's on one of those levels.
Yeah, and Colin was like, yeah, I know it's easy because, so it was, not suspicious. Several years ago, I did some bluffing and I convinced them that Panadar was dangerous, even though no one knows what it does and it can't do anything as far as they can tell. And so I had them, and so they agreed to move it to one of the stable levels. So it's just easy to find. It'll just be on level 5. And I was when everyone was like,
you never
did that.
Yeah. So that means it's somewhere, and we don't know exactly where, on one of those levels.
The rest of the levels, the rooms they open to changes, and no one really knows how, but you talk to people who know and they tell you, oh, go to this room. So supposedly the V7 know how it works, but no one else knows.
Who are the V7?
The V7 are they're a set of people who they're the very right honorable sir or madam 1 through 7, and they just call them very 1 or V1 for short.
They're sort of the secret masters of the facility.
They run it. No one knows who they are. They're assumed to be random employees that also have other roles, but no one really knows. The head of the facility is the Right Honorable such and such. I don't remember her name. And she's known. And there's theories that she's one of the V7, but no one knows for sure.
Basically, you were dealing with these world-ending artifacts of unknown properties and stuff. So they're doing a whole lot of high-security kinds of things. But yeah, so our plan is, then, we get inside, and once we're inside, the security is not so tough. You can fairly freely move around the facility.
Right.
There's a whole lot of low-level guards. You clonk them on the head.
Especially when nobody knows who the V7 are.
Yeah. So we find Panadar, and as soon as we find Panadar, we shift to any other time and place using Panadar. The place is warded against teleportation, even though teleportation isn't really a thing since the collapse of the Ood Empire.
But just in case.
But it's not warded against time travel because no one even thinks time travel is a thing.
Now they're hoping this is going to work because serendipity has to check around and find places that time confluences. So, but they're hoping that since there's this essentially infinite space, there should be somewhere in that infinite space that connects to somewhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where.
Anywhere will be better than there. And I just know John is gleefully planning an adventure. Anywhere is going to turn out to be somewhere terrible.
That's just Brian trying to manipulate me into having it work.
Or making it so that you will totally subvert my expectations by having us come out someplace awesome and perfect. Throne room. Anyway, So we enact our plan. A couple of days pass. We have Kalinar waiting outside with Panadar. We go in with a troop of ne'er-do-wells and various sorts who have signed on for this task.
What's the job you're given?
They haven't told us yet.
Oh.
Yeah, they just meet. There's a group of 12. They meet at the edge of Spellhold. A Spellblade comes up, says, "I'm Sir," don't remember his name. ranks are such and such.
See, the thing is, we're not going to remember any of this anyway, right?
And he just tells them, listen, this place is heavily guarded. If you screw around, it's going to suck for you. So just don't screw around. All right, come with me. And he just takes them into Spellhold, into the SBC facility, and into the room where they're going to have the amnesia ritual administered by Dame Merylithon.
Another name that doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then from that point onward, we don't remember anything. No.
So the ritual gets administered, but while she's administering it, she gets somewhat interested in
Hank?
Gerard.
Oh, Gerard.
And he also tries to flirt with her. But she gets extremely interested in Hank. And so once the ritual is administered, she says, all right, everyone, you can move on with so-and-so to the next thing, except for you and you, pointing to Hank and Gerard. You need to stay behind.
Yeah. Who's Gerard?
Robin's new character, Arabian guy.
Oh, right.
We almost forgot the best part of the whole sign-in procedure. When I was the one that went and bluffed with the guy, Streetwise guy, to get us all signed in. And so he wanted to know the names of who he was going to get on the list. And I told him all the names, including Serendipity, Van Goldstrider, Malora, Topper of Towers, Shepherd of Souls, Strider Through Time, Doom Delayer. And he was like, Gnome. He wrote Gnome. And so then when we got to the sign-in thing, and we're all there, and the guy is reading off who all is going to be included in this list. He's going through them, and Cricket is like getting sort of wiltier and wiltier as the list of names gets read, and finally it gets to the end, and there's Serendipity, Van Goldstrider, Topper, Tower, Shepherd, Doom is getting ready, and the guy says, and Gnome. And she goes, Cricket! I will accept whatever punishment you wish to dole out.
It almost led to combat with that guy.
It's hilarious because this is ideal because parts of her name reveal things we don't want them to know. But she's a gnome, and therefore doesn't matter.
Right. Well, especially by just being called Gnome, it's almost like being called nameless.
Yeah.
Or unnamed, right? So it's ultimate insult for her. She ultimately managed to convince her way to. She let him hand her the list of names, and she wrote on her name. And he was like, "Look, I don't care what your name is, but if this causes you to shut up, then fine. And by the way, if you don't shut up, you're out. So let's go." Once she had her name on, she shut up.
And then the amnesia ritual was put on, and Cricket has had to remind Serendipity at several occasions to hold off on punishing her until later because otherwise it won't stick. And I think it's sufficiently creeping out Shannon that she's not going to actually do anything.
Their hope is that if they use the time travel exit, then they won't actually lose their memory because they won't. The amnesia thing expires within 30 days because otherwise people will be hesitant to put it on.
Right.
Because otherwise someone could just be like, "Oh, I'll just erase your memory in 5 years to be a jerk." So if they're not around for the next 30 days, then they should be able to avoid having it actually activated.
Now, if they gain a level during those 30 days,
interesting. Experience points. Yeah.
to delete your experience points.
Good thing we don't use those. So we got in, and then the party was immediately split.
What to do?
Hank and Gerard were taken off in a different direction.
Oh, right, because the ritual lady.
Because they had the plans to the SBC admin area, we just had them sneaking to the vault off screen. That was the benefit of getting the blueprints. Is like they're just with the blueprints and with Kyle and R's instructions, you can just get through the admin area, which is relatively low security, to the vault automatically. Right. And that was the plan. But Hank and Gerard had to stay behind.
Yeah. So the party is immediately split, and not by our choice. DM made us do it. So Gerard and Hank were taken to this room that had like a one-way mirror in it, and let to stew for an hour. They're just sitting there. Hank is trying to role play being a sort of a convict, and so he's just angry at everyone and everything and growling and doesn't say anything because that's the best way to pretend is not to say anything.
Yeah. Right. And he was quite clear that it was a bluff check, or he's bluffing, so he should have to make a bluff check if necessary. But yeah, the whole time he's just like surly and growling, and
of course Gerard is trying to flirt with anything vaguely feminine. So eventually I can't remember what happened to them.
Eventually, after like over an hour,
Yeah.
this elf with a bald head and particularly pointy ears came in. He
It's
wouldn't.
soulless, totally soulless, isn't it?
And
That's how I pictured him instantly.
He wouldn't tell them his name at first, but eventually, like several role-playing scenes
Gerard
later,
charmed it out of him.
that he said that he was the very right honorable Sir Five.
So we got V5. So I'm not really sure what it is that piqued their interest with Gerard and Hank, but it went straight to the top. It's really weird. I mean, serendipity is attuned to a bone of the earth. Cricket is a species that doesn't exist yet, but they went with the shifter and the
Shifter as a
So they got Cricket in as a mongrel, which I forget who it was found it kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
Like they're like I'm a mongrel. That's an image I'm never gonna get out of my head. Although that's pretty much true of all mongrels anyway.
Yeah, but Cricket's a little bit more close to the origins, I guess you could say. More first generation mongrel, you could say. So anyway.
Well, I mean, Hank makes sense because he's dual personality, right?
I suspect that might be what they detected, but it just raises further questions about Gerard. Like, what is weird about Gerard? There shouldn't be anything weird about Gerard.
I don't even remember anything about Gerard.
He is just a sort of a...
Didn't he show up when you were breaking into the office?
Yeah, he was waiting there.
Right.
And in the original timeline, Warforged killed him because he was going to interfere with Kalinar getting us on this path.
Yes, Kalinar, on the penultimate quest in their search for the unobtainium, or anyway, that kind of thing.
You don't have him.
You don't have him, right?
Not unobtainium.
You don't have him in order to
Much rarer than unobtainium.
to defeat the void, to make the anti-void creature grenades. They hired Gerard's father to take them into the mountains where he knew of some deposits, and they signed a contract. You know, as is standard practice there. If he dies, you give all this money to the family. But he died, and they were really busy trying to save the world, so they left, and he never got around to it because he was too focused on a work. So his whole family, like, basically went down the tubes. His sisters all became child brides and died in childbirth, or at least one of them did, and he's not very happy with Kalinar.
Yeah.
So he came back to give Kalinar a piece of his mind, and then Warforged killed him, except this time the party saved him. So...
And apparently he's
and he's from the Zareb country, which is like the Arabian area.
Right.
So, I can't figure out what would be interesting about Gerard, that doesn't, like, already apply to everyone in the party. Like,
right. Like,
there's some kind of paradoxical thing going on, and that applies to everyone. Heck, it would apply to them.
They'd find themselves interesting.
Yeah, it's like, paradoxically, I don't exist. While all that is going on with Hank and Gerard, Croesus and Cricket and Serendipity Van Gogh start on top of our tower ship.
Otherwise known as Gnome.
Yeah, I'll just call her that for the rest of this. That'll make it a lot quicker and easier, because I'm not Cricket.
Right.
I'm not my character. We are getting into the vault, and it was very surprisingly easy. There's like the super ultra vault door with like a billion guards all standing ready, but the thing is they're all looking inwards at the vault door.
Right.
And there was like a lineup of people to go inside, and we just sort of snuck into the lineup, and then they went and opened the door, and everyone went inside, because they don't care if you go inside.
Right.
It's getting back out that's impossible. So we go in, and what we've got a ritual called Locate Object.
It's a good
And
ritual.
it's a good ritual, and we're going to be able to use it to find Panadar. But the problem is each level of this vault is its own separate extra-dimensional space. So you have to basically open the door and poke your head inside. And so our plan was we would cast Locate Object and then run down the staircase, poking head inside, poking it like that until the ritual ran out. John had a counter for that already designed into the vault. We didn't know.
I don't even need to clean the plate, thanks, bud.
Oh, yeah.
That's disturbing.
That's what the bread's for.
Yeah, right? I knew I brought extra.
So we get started. Cricket casts a ritual, because it's one that Cricket has, not Gnome.
Right.
And
they tried walking up to the first set of guards because it's a stone staircase. It just goes back and forth between landings. It's candlelit, and there's doors at some landings, and their doors are guarded by 2 guards. And they went up and they're like, we're going in to see. It was like, we're here for something. I don't remember what it was. And they were like, what? I don't know anything about this. And they put their hands on their weapons and they're like, oh, my mistake, and moved on to the next guards.
Right. So the first floor we actually skipped because we were thinking we could still do this subtly at this point. But these guards are all first level minions, and we're 28 levels. So if they get in our way, we'll just bop them on the head. We don't want to kill them.
Yeah.
Because that's Jenga's. But I guess bopping them on the head probably won't Jenga that much.
Probably.
So we go down to the next level, and we told the guards, we're going in here, and they were like, well, okay, I guess, or whatever.
No, you had to knock them out.
Oh, okay. We did actually knock some out. I didn't remember if we actually had or not.
Yeah, the next set of guards, you tried another bluff and it failed, and they
weird. I have a really high bluff score. But
maybe it was just, but I think it was just impossible. It was whatever you suggested just didn't even make sense.
Right.
Like, you didn't know it didn't make sense, but...
That's fair. That's fair. I've pulled that as a DM before.
Well, it just doesn't make... Right, it doesn't matter. If someone comes to you and says, oh yeah, I'm allowed to enter Bioware, and they're totally convincing I'm allowed to enter Bioware because I have to polish the marble floors. Like, they're just like,
no.
There are no marble floors. Like, it doesn't matter how convincing they are.
Well, I don't know. They're presenting some alternate facts that might be true from a certain point of view. Anyway, so bopped them on the head and went inside. And immediately through the door was a really small chamber with another door right beyond. And we go inside, and the previous door that goes out onto the staircase landing slams shut. And this little hourglass built into it flips over automatically. And the sand starts going down. And the door won't open.
Right. You're in the airlock.
It's an airlock. The second set of doors won't open until the outer doors are closed. And the outer doors have a time lock on them. What was it, an hour?
Yeah, about an hour.
Yeah, so you can't open it again for an hour, which is beyond the duration of the ritual.
Right.
So our little plan to just run down the stairs poking our head in every door now is going to be a laborious hour-by-hour thing.
Yes.
And so we may have to try and come up with something different. But first we have to deal with this room.
Luckily, no one really cares if you're in the vault. It's just getting out is the hard part.
Well, we're going to leave a string of unconscious guards behind us.
Yeah, I mean, they probably will at some point send people down after you, but it's not... Yeah, their main focus is on just maintaining an impenetrable barrier at the exit because we didn't mention there was about like 20 to 40 guards all facing the entrance. There were like magical defenses. There was like multiple steel doors in the ceiling. There was and everyone was just on alert, staring at the vault door.
We don't want to fight our way out.
Nothing is ever getting out of that vault door.
Right.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have no interest in fighting our way out through there. If we have to fight our way through
people do come out of the vault door, but they need to not.
Oh yeah, but they screen them like super carefully and strip search them and all that kind of stuff. So,
but if you just try to run out, they will kill you.
Yeah. So we're in this tiny little room, and the next door will presumably lead into the main vault area. But the thing is, we're already in the extra-dimensional space, and we have locate objects active. So I ping anyway. And it says, no, there's no Panadar here. So, we're like, I guess we should wait for an hour. And then Gnome says, no, I'm super curious. I want to go poke around and fiddle with everything and screw around with stuff.
Well, they had already opened the inner... Because
we opened the inner door and peeked inside?
You'd looked inside.
Yeah.
Because otherwise your detect object wouldn't have worked.
Oh, it wouldn't get through that door?
No.
Okay, because detect object is supposed to be open.
I know, but it's still just like it's a setup.
Well, anyway, we had peeked inside. So what was inside was the ice castle, as I predicted. There was like this pedestal in the middle of the room that had a bone of the earth on it, and everything in the room was just completely covered in frost and icicles, and it was super cold in there.
And there was 2 guys sitting at like a desk in parkas, just sitting there,
huddled there watching this thing. They're guards. But we know it's not Panadar. The locate object didn't ping, and also Panadar doesn't have anything to do with freezing. So.
But you took it anyway.
No. This is the Cave of Wonders situation. We cannot take anything except the Panadar, because otherwise the universe will end. It will disrupt the timelines.
Right.
Only Panadar must be taken.
The Jenga tower will fall.
Yeah. And so, knowing that Panadar isn't in the room, Croesus was like, well, I guess we're going to wait for an hour and then go outside and go to the next one. But Gnome was totally, like, no, we have to go and explore everything and
learn.
Examine everything and all the secrets of the universe, etc., like that. And
Plus it's fun.
Yeah.
I know my players. I knew the only way to get them to have fun would be to lock them in the room with the fun.
And even that wasn't going to work, though, because Croesus set himself in front of the door and was going to guard it and stop Gnome from getting through. And Cricket was like the deciding vote, and of course Gnome owns her, so she was like, she totally agreed with Croesus. Croesus' approach was best.
Right.
We shouldn't
mess
screw around in there.
Yeah.
But Gnome wants in, so that's what we got to do.
No, it was interesting because I don't know if it probably wouldn't have ended without like an actual combat if it wasn't for all of the players, including Tim, finally impressing upon Croesus to just give up.
Basically, all the voices in Croesus' head were telling him, no, you should actually go ahead.
Everyone,
It's a little bit out of character for Croesus to actually allow us to go through the door without a huge combat and all that sort of stuff.
And it's not exploring around is not the most practical thing. The most practical thing would be to sit there doing nothing for an hour.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah. So we went inside. And the two guards in parkas saw us, and they were like, "Oh, finally, our relief has come. We're gonna swap out." And we were like, "No, we were sent here for experimental reasons or something." And they're like, "What? No, it's not on the list." And while they're starting to argue about
that guy was getting annoyed because he was like, they found out that they called them commoner class or class C personnel, and they're like, "Oh, you just random class C personnel wandered into this vault. Do you know how much paperwork I'm gonna have to do?" Oh, this is so annoying. And he's not too concerned because their memories are gonna get wiped.
Right.
So it's not really a big deal. It's just annoying, right? Like it's just a pain in the butt for him now.
But while they were talking, and I think Cricket was talking with them, because she's the bluffy one. And I think Croesus was talking with them as well. Serendipity went down to the bone of the earth. And what did she do?
She's just an Arcana check on it to figure out what it happened. And when that happened, it suddenly changed and started outputting a huge amount of heat, like just a furnace of heat. And everything started melting and started no, I'm mistaken. She made Cricket do it first.
Cricket did it first? No, I think Cricket did it second.
Oh, you're right. Cricket. Yes, you're right. So it just started putting out heat and everything is melting and they were like, "What are you doing? Don't touch that, you idiot!" Like this is just making everything worse.
You set it on heat.
Whatever. Okay, take off your parkas. They start taking off their parkas.
Yeah.
And then Cricket does something. What did I do?
You same thing. You Arcana did.
Yeah.
Probably because Serendipity told you to.
Yeah.
And
that was bad.
Yes, after she Arcana'd it, it stopped putting out heat and started this high-pitched buzzing noise. It just got louder. It started making this high-pitched squeal that was getting louder and louder. And they're like, "What are you guys doing? You idiots! You got it on Sonic! And they all, the screeching just gets louder and louder.
And that's where we sort of figured, okay, this thing outputs the various energy types.
Right. Yeah.
Cold is an energy type, and fire is an energy type, and Sonic is an energy type. And so I immediately was like, whatever you do, don't set it on acid.
Serendipity, I think, before this must have got it back onto heat.
It briefly went through radiant. How did we get it to radiant? Someone set it on radiant.
That was at the end because it must have been on something safe because then Croesus was like, they discovered that, but when you just mess around with it, you don't know what you're doing. It just takes on your most powerful attribute. So Serendipity turned it on to fire. Cricket put it on Sonic because she's a bard.
Yeah.
And so he's like, maybe I can get it to put out law. So he attempts an Arcana check on it, horribly fails, and he fails so badly that he's next to it, and I had to make a Dex check, which he failed, and he accidentally knocked it off the pedestal while he's doing his like, and it falls onto the ground and bounces, and then it bounces higher, and it bounces higher, and bounces higher, and the guards scream, "You got it onto kinetic! Quick, get to the shelter!" And they run for this shelter as it starts going berserk across the room.
Yeah.
But Croesus immediately used an ability on it, some kind of gravity lure or something. Gravity well, which sucked it to him. It also put it onto gravitational mode, which started pulling everyone in the room towards it. But he very quickly grabbed it in his hands, and Serendipity used an Arcana check, and she got high enough to choose the type.
That's when she put it on Radiant.
She put it on Radiant because it seemed good.
Until it didn't. It didn't seem good.
Until it filled the whole room with light so bright that they started screaming, and the guards were like, "No, turn it off! I don't want to go blind forever." So then she put it on to heat again, which was fine because that's what they do. They just keep it alternating every 6 hours between heat and cold.
Right.
And that's their regiment. And they got it back onto the regiment.
Right from the get-go, it's not a good idea to set it on Radiant. I don't know why Serendipity thought it was a good idea to set it on Radiant.
She thought it was harmless, I guess.
She was gung-ho about setting it on Radiant, and I'm like, no, this is a terrible idea. Whatever. So she did. So it...
And no one managed to set it to lightning or acid.
Oh, God. That would have...
Or acid, then lightning.
I think those were
lightning is probably the worst possible one, because it reach out and touch you. But acid also... Anyway.
The guards said that when they first came to be guarding this one, when they came here, the previous guards had somehow gotten it onto kinetic, and all they found was just the shelter was just a pile of dust and bloody goo, and they somehow got it back. And now they built a stronger shelter, but it had never been tested, and they didn't really want to test it.
Yeah. So then we waited for an hour. Which we could have done from the outset.
So you wait an hour, you play some I don't know.
I don't think we knocked
play
them out.
Play some games with the guards.
Yeah, the guards were not too concerned because they figured, whatever. They didn't know that you knocked at the guards from the outside, and they knew their memories were going to be erased, so they're relatively free.
They just don't want us to screw around with the thing.
Yeah, as they were screwing around with it, he was just getting more and more annoyed. And just like, oh, come on. This is just a huge pain in the butt for me. I'm going to have to do paperwork. I'm going to have to do da-da-da. Once they got it onto kinetic, then it was more than just annoyance. But
that was sheer panic. So anyway.
So you play some canasta.
So then...
Go fish.
Then V5 went and got Hank and Gerard. Did they head to the vault?
They went into the vault, too.
So the party's coming back together. I was briefly gleeful about how we're going to be able to split the party across time zones. A DM's worst nightmare.
Right.
But no. Looks like we may end up back together again. My main concern is if this V5 guy catches up with us, he's not a level 1 guard.
No.
He's possibly going to have to be someone to fight.
And he's got a guard contingent with him,
too. And they're going to be high level too. And it's going to be, if we end up fighting, it's going to be a real nasty fight. And we can't kill any of them.
Right.
We'll have to knock them out. Simply having the fight is going to probably be a jackpot. But yeah, this airlock / time lock system really put a crimp on
your plan to avoid all the cool stuff that I planned.
Yeah.
And just go straight to the goal. Yeah.
Well, it's the goal. It's what we're here for.
We're here for the goal.
Every time in all of our campaigns that we've had a vault heist, it's been a very specific goal. We need that particular artifact that is in there, and we don't want to mess with anything else. And so we're just driving through. There's a room filled with crowns and scepters and steal the lock.
We reject temptation.
In this case, the laws of physics are on the side of resisting temptation, but also the DM is wanting us to see all these cool set pieces that he's been working on for a month. So yeah, it's an interesting balance of forces acting on our party there. But yeah, as long if we can just get our hands on the Panadar, blip, we're out, it's fine.
Right.
We'll wind up someplace nice. I mean, it's going to jump us to a random place and location in history, right? Most places in history are nice.
Okay.
Yes. Very few of them are only a week before a global catastrophe. What are the odds?
You have plotitons?
Actually, the fact is, apparently, these pathways through time specifically lead to significant events. So odds are actually good that we'll wind up someplace of importance. Yeah, we kind of figured that out when it turned out that the cave where the end of all things was destroyed had like bajillions of these fractures that we could follow. We were like, oh, I guess this is a super significant point in time.